Welcome to the Literally First Class podcast, where I will teach you how to overcome anxiety and achieve somatic success. I'm your host, Keri Ford. I'm a somatic success and holistic life coach here to bring humor, insight, and wisdom to the modern day woman that wants to feel alive in her daily life. You ready? Come on, I saved you a seat in first class. On today's episode, I wanted to bring you behind the scenes a little bit more into the UNMADE Retreat. So last week at this time, I was fully immersed in leading this experience. It was a 3-night, 4-day immersive retreat experience called UNMADE. And I wanted to bring you into that experience a little bit more and share with you the concept, the takeaways, and some of the learnings that we really landed during our time together. First of all, I've hosted some amazing retreats. Those of you that have followed me for a while know about Shift with Sanctuary. My business partner, Lauren, and I were hosting retreats for groups of women that we took on global retreats. The first one, we rented a private island in the British Virgin Islands, and that was back in September 21, which is pretty wild. Then in the spring, we took a group of women to Belize, and that was incredible as well. We did some really interesting and cool things in the jungle and canoeing through caves. It was just awesome. But I thought, if I just make this a little bit simpler and I bring everybody to me, where could I host this? And so we decided to host it at a place called Serenbe. And Serenbe is actually a beautiful, like rolling hills retreat space. There's 1,000 acres and it's equally rustic as it is luxurious. And that's what I love about it. You can ride horses through the day, and then you can retreat to your modern, Airbnb for the evening. Or you can go and do meditation out on the grass, or you can come and you can have a really high-end, like farm to table dinner. Everything is self-sustained. It's a complete community in and of itself. They have their own general store. They have their own schools. Dr. Joe Dispenza and Elizabeth Gilbert have been there before, hosting and co-facilitating events as well. And so it's just a really cool space. And it was exactly what I had in mind for UNMADE. So what is UNMADE? Becoming UNMADE, and what that means is first understanding that normalized stress, masks of anxiety, and disconnection from yourself, no longer need to drive you in your quest for success. Many of the women that I work with, they already have everything on paper. A lot of them. They have reached a certain status. That's why I call them the 1% woman. But I'm here to redefine what the 1% woman looks and feels like, and also invite them into matching their felt sense internal experience of success to the external appearance of success. I can't tell you how many times, whether it's a public figure, a 1% woman in her specific industry, a celebrity, at the end of the day, we are all human. We all have fears and we all have desires and dreams, but they often look like from the outside, like, wow, they really have it all. They have it all together. They've got all this success. And part of them feels that way too. Like, I've got it all. Why is there still part of me that feels unfulfilled? So my goal with UNMADE is stripping it all away, letting go of the posturing of the external appearance of success, and getting curious so that we can start to match your actual felt sense internal world to feeling fulfilled. Because here's the thing, you could have it all and still not feel like you have it all at every single level. And maybe you're even thinking, yeah, but Keri, maybe because I'm not there yet, that's why I don't feel like I have it all. But if you don't feel like you have it all right now, you're not going to feel like you have it all in the next step, the next project, the next goal. My guess is that as soon as you achieve that next goal, it's sort of irrelevant because you're already on to the next thing. This is the loop that I call achiever anxiety. And I talked a little bit about this last week on the episode. So if you haven't listened to that, go back and listen to that one too. But the 1% woman and how we redefine her truly understands that these 3 things need to happen in order to achieve somatic success, right? Where her inner and outer world match. I don't just look successful, I feel successful. I don't just look like I have it all, I truly feel rich. So, number 1, vision expands when I create time for play, pleasure, and rest. Because you're relaxed in that state. So you're able to see and connect more to your macro vision. Number 2, serving at the highest level requires you to charge up to take off or to empty out so you can fill up. And that's exactly why I create experiences and containers just like this, where I invite you into a courageous space that requires you to show up vulnerably. It requires you to lay down the armor and truly be seen for who you are without leading with what you do. And that is super healing, both individually and collectively in the space of the feminine. So I love creating courageous spaces like that. And number 3, they know that action driven by anxiety is not motivation. This one's tricky because anxiety has served many high-performing women in most places. It's the thing that helps them get shit done. It's the thing that has them feel like they're super decisive. But can we be both decisive and intentional? Meaning, can we just slow down when we make a decision or in the process of making a decision? Can we just slow that down so that we can really make sure we're thinking ahead 3 steps? So not letting anxiety drive the action and still taking action, but from a place of centered, grounded peace. That's truly powerful. I really believe, and I know that the work I've done with clients, they have an aha moment where they're like, oh, wow, I can actually feel peace and power at the same time. And I didn't know that they could coexist. I didn't know I could have both. I'm here to tell you, you can have both. So we walked through some really cool things. The first evening we started with a group dinner, which was quite lovely. It's fun to get to know everybody or to connect. Actually, a couple of women, we realized I have known them or they've been in my world for 10 years. They have been with me through every evolution that I've been through. They've watched my business and my mission continue to up level, and they have been with me on and off almost the entire time. So that was pretty cool. And it was kind of emotional to hug, these women that have been in my world and me in theirs for the last decade. And one of them I had met in person. Another woman I had never met in person, but it kind of felt like we already had. So that was really beautiful. And then we went on to have a burn ceremony around the fire pit. I love starting off retreats in this way because it sets the tone for what you're actually stepping into, what you're committed to changing, and what you're illuminating that you're wanting to let go of. And so that's really beautiful. And then the next day, we started our first immersion day. Now, that day was focused more on deepening our awareness around our masks. What are the masks of anxiety? Where does our achiever anxiety hook in? Why do I feel like I can't get off the ride? And how do I start to shift things? Because change requires 2 things. You guys have heard me say this again and again, and I'll continue to say it. Change requires 2 things: awareness and choice. Most of us have awareness up to a certain point or level. The whole point here is I bring you into deeper awareness because we start to truly lift the veil and uncouple things. But the other is choice. So have you ever been caught in a loop or a pattern where you're like, why am I doing this thing that I don't actually want to do? It's out of alignment with who I want to be. It's out of alignment with the future I'm creating. It's not actually what I desire. And yet here I am fucking doing it. What the hell, Keri? Well, it's not your fault. A lot of it is automated and unconscious, but you can't change what you're not aware of. We can't create a new choice around that. So we have to do 2 things at the same time. We have to, continue to deepen our awareness, of course, but we have to figure out what those new choices are based on the awareness. And then we also simultaneously have to expand your somatic and nervous system capacity. What does that mean? It means your ability to feel safe in creating that change. Have you ever seen someone experience a lot of change all at once and they snap back into a pattern or behavior? It can look like self-sabotage, but it's really just self-protection because they haven't shifted their identity and they don't feel safe in their body to shift into this new way of being. Let's take lottery ticket winners, for example. They win all this money, they accumulate all this wealth all at once, and then most of them spend it all away only to come back to their baseline. If we don't shift your baseline and we don't start to expand your window of tolerance and your somatic and nervous system capacity, you will only ever rise to your baseline. So you'll fall back down to that current belief system if we don't shift that. So they, on some subconscious level, go back to the struggle and the money is hard story, and I don't have the money and the poverty mindset and the poverty vibration because they never shifted the core beliefs and baseline to begin with. And so they get rid of the money as fast as possible to recreate that reality because it's what they know and what feels safe, even when it feels out of alignment with what they actually desire. So that's really important, and it's almost like driving a stick shift car. So sometimes we are, more on the gas pedal, and other times we're more on the clutch, but we're really learning how to do both at the same time in different seasons at different times, right? Because we have to push a little to expand our window of tolerance, to stretch it, but we also have to learn how to maintain it. The whole point of somatic nervous system capacity expanding is to have, keep, and hold more all at once. I actually want to say that in a different order. It's to have, hold, and keep more all at once. A lot of people will experience fast quantum leaps of growth. Can they keep it though? Not just with money, with relationship. You can meet the love of your life, but if you have all of this pain and trauma stored in your body around actually receiving love, you will subconsciously sabotage it. It will feel too good to be true. Maybe it will even feel boring when somebody's interested in you. Have you ever experienced that? So that's just another example of where we might feel safe and suddenly our defenses go up and it looks like self-sabotage, but it's actually self-protection. Our nervous system is so smart, which is incredible. So this is the work that we do in UNMADE. The other cool thing is that I challenge the women to introduce themselves by where their feet have walked instead of what they do. You couldn't introduce yourself with a title. And almost every single woman got emotional and sat there and said, oh my God, I don't know if I know who I am without what I do, without leading with what I do, my titles, my accolades, my achievements. So who are we beneath that? Because that's the other thing that keeps us locked into the loop of achiever anxiety. Achiever anxiety locks us into the lie that I am what I do versus I am me whether or not I do what I do. So it's unhooking that's super crucial. That was super powerful. And we all showed up without makeup the entire time because, again, this is called UNMADE. We're not posturing. We're not creating separation with each other. And we simply wanted to show up as we were, myself included. We all showed up without makeup the entire weekend, except for the last evening. I said, if you want to wear a little makeup, you can. That's open invitation. Or you can get curious what happens when you dress up for the celebration dinner and you don't have makeup on and see what comes up for you. That's interesting. But it was a beautiful experience. We had a lot of laughs. We did a labyrinth tour. I don't know if you guys have ever done a labyrinth journey. It's basically a pathway that it has multiple ways you can get into the labyrinth. At least this one did. This was the first labyrinth I've ever done. So I'm just speaking about this specific labyrinth, but it was really cool. We went on a guided tour and let me back up. We went on a guided tour and the meditation teacher, she led us in the dark through the farm to, we didn't even know where we were going, to this pathway that led us to the labyrinth. And the cool thing and the parallel that's not lost on me is that we had no idea where we were going. We only had enough light for the step in front of us, and we were led in the dark to our path. And as the sun started to rise, our path became more and more illuminated. And you could choose to enter the labyrinth at multiple points in this one specific area where we entered the labyrinth. And we each set an intention as we entered. Everyone's intention was different. Everyone took a different path into the labyrinth. Even though it all went into one single path, there were multiple kind of breakout points, if you will. I went third. I went second to last. And I decided I'm going to take the first turn to the right as I enter the labyrinth. So I go first turn to the right. And the teacher she guided us through knowing that it might feel like sometimes you're doing it wrong or that you're getting really close to the center, but then you're getting further away. And I want to assure you that that's normal because you can only ever end up at the center if you just keep walking. And so in real time, we are all calibrating our body and our nervous system to be in this meditative walk. And a meditative walk is essentially us being super present in the here and now. It's feeling the leaves crunch beneath my feet. It's feeling the temperature of the air. It's smelling the earth and the dirt around me. It's hearing the birds starting to wake up with the world. It's really just letting our senses guide us and orienting to our physical surroundings. So if we can be truly here and now, anything can be a meditation, eyes open or eyes closed. And so this meditative walk was just really beautiful. So one of the women, she ends up in the center of the labyrinth about 5 minutes in. And I'm thinking to myself, geez, I hope I didn't allow too much time for this activity. Because as you know, like the whole syntax and agenda for the weekend is extremely curated. I mean, each day has a theme. Each day overall leads into a bigger crescendo experience. It's highly curated. And I've allowed certain buffers, but also enough time for everything to be spacious and occupy, the fully expanded allotted time. And so I'm like, I hope I didn't allow too much time for this labyrinth journey. So she ends up there and she's in the center with the meditation teacher. And then I see her come back out and she passes me going the opposite direction. And 2 minutes later, she ends up back in the center. And I'm like, what is going on? This is like trickery. The other women, we're all still out in the labyrinth. And I'm feeling like I'm on this walking path forever. There's 2 or 3 points. I almost get to the center. It feels like, yes, I'm about to get to the center. I'm almost there. And nope, now I'm walking further away. Like, did I do this wrong? Did I step over a rock? Maybe the leaves were covering the path. And I started to question my ability to trust my intentional walking, honestly. And so I finally end up in the center of the labyrinth and I was the last one there. I was extremely frustrated, but I also was acknowledging my presence in the here and now. So I was able to hold both the frustration and the presence. And the teacher looks at me and she goes, "You must be a really great teacher because I'm guessing you've walked all the paths." And I started to get emotional because in that moment, the labyrinth mirrored to me so much of my entrepreneurial journey, trying to figure it out. What is my life purpose? How can I actually make a living doing this? Who do I want to serve? How do I want to serve them? All of these things that I had, struggled to figure out over the last 10 plus years. I had oscillated between coaching and consulting. And I finally felt like that was past energy. Like, you're right. I have fucking walked all of these paths. I have done all of the things. I have done so many things. And she said, that's what makes you a great teacher is because now you're able to walk people down the path you have taken, which again is something that has been really beautiful about UNMADE. Like, I walk with the work that I teach. I lead by example and embodiment. Like, these are all things that I have done in order for me to put this work together. I don't just go to somebody's retreat and then rinse and repeat their itinerary. Like, I've truly walked with this work for years. And so that was just such a beautiful confirmation for me around being on the right path and fully owning my journey. So we're going to go ahead and do the labyrinth again in March. When we go back, the women were like, this was so perfect. Do this again in March. Do it at sunrise again. I love how it was dark in the morning. And then it started to, as we were walking the path, be more and more light out. So it was just incredible. And I'm excited to do it all over again. The women came away with deeper awareness, yes, around who they are and why they do the things they do, but they also came away with practices that they can bring into their everyday life. Because here's one of the most important things about the containers that I build. I don't ever want it to be a going to church experience. And what I mean by that is you feel inspired, you feel the truth of whatever the word is, like whether it's church or an inspirational speech or something motivational that you're like, ooh, I'm so inspired and I can't wait to change and do all these things, and you're taking all these notes. Then you go home and you go right back to the way things were and what you were doing the entire time, and nothing's actually changed. And so the biggest thing that I want to land with those that attend Unmade or any container, any group program is you don't have to wait for the next retreat to find your calm and your peace and presence again. You can take the calm, peace, and presence that you tapped into and landed in here and nurture it even more at home, because that has always been inside you. We're just creating a container and an experience that wakes that up a little bit more, that nurtures that. And so the most important thing for me is to create exercises and very tangible action steps that they can take what they've learned here and utilize it in their real life so they can actually experience change. And that's the magical part, because even though their heart is cracked wide open and there were a lot of tears and there was a lot of emotion and tons of breakthrough, I know that the real magic actually happens when they go home and they say, oh shit, this has been inside me all along. And that retreat helped me wake up again and remember who the fuck I am. But now I get to bring this home. More play, more pleasure, more rest. And to really just let your hair down and bring that into your everyday life. So I want to empower you if you're in a place or in a season where you're feeling stuck, you're feeling overwhelmed or frustrated, or like life is so heavy and serious all the time, that you are the CEO of your life and you can choose to change this at any time. You don't have to wait to get away on the next vacation or experience the next retreat or workshop to have it. Do those things, but bring what you felt there in your body home with you. What was different on vacation or the retreat or at the workshop or at the motivational speech what shifted inside you, and how can you apply that to your everyday life? Because truly, that's where those simple but profound transformations take root, and how you actually create change in the life you feel alive living. So if you feel called to Unmade, we have a bunch of applications and responses to the emails that went out. So we're scheduling some interviews for both working with me one-to-one and or people potentially attending the next round of Unmade. We have 3 spots already claimed for the next round of Unmade. That will be happening here in Atlanta, March 23rd through the 26th. So if it feels like a calling on your heart, something you're curious about, get your application in ASAP. It's first come, first serve, and the first 10 spots to go. It will be closed, and then we're going to have a wait list. So you can go ahead and find out information about all of that on elevatewithkeri.com/unmade. I'll see you guys here next week on Literally First Class.
I hope you enjoyed your flight, and I'll see you on board again soon.
Seriously though, thanks for listening. If you're ready to take this work deeper and upgrade your mind, I want to invite you to join us inside my Millionaire Mindset program. This is where you'll start using my guided meditations to help you overcome anxiety and experience even more abundance. When you join, you'll have access to my entire audio library. Head over to elevatewithkeri.com and we'll see you inside.